Watch this video, I will be right back.
Black people need to stop complaining about system, take some personal responsibility. Everyone is equal under the law now. They may be policed more, but that's only because they commit a disproportionate amount of the crime.
Why?
Well, I'm not saying that black people are naturally more likely to do anything. I just think it's a part of their culture.
Why?
Well, probably because their dads weren't around to raise them properly.
Why?
I don't know, probably because they were too poor to afford a kid, so they left.
Why?
Well, they probably can't get a good job because they never went to college.
Why?
Well, I guess it is probably because they couldn't afford it, but they didn't get good enough grades to get a scholarship either.
Why?
Well, I guess that is probably because their school is underfunded.
Why?
Because school funding is determined by property taxes, and they were born into poor areas.
Why?
Because their family hasn't been able to build enough wealth to move out.
Why?
Because the first black people who were born with equal rights under the law are less than 60 years old.
You all will agree with me that systemic racism does exist. Today, racism continues to exist in our communities. Racism is what makes us see the other with suspicion or to attribute negative characteristics to an entire group of people. Now, this manifests itself in individual thoughts and also in the workings of society itself. Today's continuing inequalities in education, housing, employment, wealth, and representation in leadership positions are rooted in the shameful history of slavery and systemic racism. Discrimination based on race and ethnicity takes many forms. The United States has made progress in eliminating some of the institutional, legalized racial discrimination of years past, such as slavery, Jim Crow laws, separate but equal schools, and prohibitions on voting or owning land. But this does not mean that systemic racism does not exist. Now, many are the times that such contentious statements are made, suggesting that criminal behavior among black people is inherent to our culture. Now, this viewpoint is controversial as it oversimplifies a complex issue and risks perpetuating harmful stereotypes. It is crucial to approach such discussions with nous, recognizing that crime is a multifaceted problem influenced by various factors, including socioeconomic conditions, systemic issues, and historical injustices. Now, the assertion that legal equality nullifies the existence of systemic racism raises a critical point in the ongoing discourse on racial issues. While legal frameworks strive for equality, the reality is that systemic racism encompasses more than just overt legal discrimination. It involves deeply ingrained biases and structural barriers that persist despite formal legal protections. So recognizing legal equality is a cornerstone, but the conversation must extend to addressing systemic challenges that can perpetuate disparities. And of course, it does perpetuate disparities. Now, in our exploration of systemic racism, it's crucial to acknowledge that legal equality is a foundational principle, but it's not the sole determinant of societal fairness. While laws aim for equal treatment, the legacy of historical injustices, institutional biases, and structural barriers can persist, impacting various aspects of life for different racial or ethnic groups. Now, the notion of equality under the law marks a significant milestone, but it's essential to delve deeper into the lived experiences of communities affected by systemic racism. Disparities in education, employment, healthcare, and the criminal justice system are indicators that despite legal safeguards, inequities endure. Now, systemic racism persists in our schools, offices, court system, police departments, and elsewhere. Why? Think about it. When palm color people occupy most positions of decision-making power, people of color or black people have a difficult time getting a fair shake, let alone getting ahead. Now, according to one study, palm color families hold 90% of the national wealth, Latino families hold 2.3%, and black families hold only 2.6%. Not only that, the Great Recession hit minority families particularly hard, and the wealth gap has increased. Think about this. For every $100 palm color families earn in income, black families earn just $57.30. That's almost unbelievable, and it's a huge racial justice issue. Now, it's next to impossible to build wealth without steady and rewarding employment, but the black unemployment rate has been consistently twice of palm color people over the past 60 years. No matter what has been going on with the economy, whether it's been up or down, maybe higher education would help with that. Well, according to the data, black people with college degrees are twice as likely to be unemployed as all other graduates. That may be because, as one study found, job applications applicants with palm color sounding names get called back about 50% more of the time than applicants with black sounding names, even when they have identical resumes. Now, this seems to be a widespread problem. Even guests with distinctively black names get less positive reviews from property owners. Let's discuss education a little more in depth. If you thought that preschool at least was a racism free zone, well, consider that while black children constitute 18% of preschoolers nationwide, they make up nearly 50% of suspensions. When all age groups are examined, black students are 3 times more likely to be suspended than palm color students, even when their infractions are similar. Overall, black students represent 16% of student enrollment and 27% of students referred to law enforcement. And once black children are in the criminal justice system, they're 18 times more likely than palm color children to be sentenced as adults. Now, given this, perhaps it should not come as a surprise that even though, as we said, black people make up 13% of the population, black people represent about 40% of the prison population. Why is that? Perhaps because if a black person and a palm color person each commit a crime, the black person has a better chance of being arrested. It's also true that once arrested, black people are convicted more than palm color people. And for many years, laws assigned much harsher sentences for using or processing. Finally, when black people are convicted, they're about 20% more likely to be sentenced to jail time and typically see sentences 20% longer than those for palm color who were convicted of similar crimes. And as we know, a felony conviction means in many states that you lose your right to vote. When the government sought to make mortgages more affordable back in the 1930s, thereby jumpstarting the epoch of suburban living, the Homeowners Loan Corporation and thereafter private banks ranked neighborhoods all around the country, giving high marks to all palm color neighborhoods and marking those with minorities in red as risky investments. Redlining, which essentially barred black people and other minorities from sharing in the American dream and building wealth like their palm color counterparts, was officially outlawed in the 60s, but the practice really never went away. In fact, during the Great Recession, banks routinely and purposely guided black home buyers towards subprime loans. A recent study demonstrated that people of color or black people are taught about and shown fewer homes and apartments than palm color people. Black ownership is now at an all-time low 42% compared to 72% of palm color people. If you are palm color, you don't usually need to worry about being monitored by the police, but the day-to-day reality for African Americans is quite different. More than half of all young black Americans know someone, including themselves, who has been harassed by the police. Statistics also show that black drivers are about 30% more likely than palm color drivers to be pulled over by the police. So African Americans can expect to be monitored wherever they go. But did you know that black people can't even expect to safely cross the street? Black people are twice as likely to be unalived in pedestrian accidents than palm color people. Perhaps because, according to one study, motorists are less likely to stop for black people in the crosswalk. Let's be clear, systemic racism is a corrosive and widespread problem in our society, and we all need to do a better job of confronting it in our towns, in our neighborhoods, and in ourselves. So saying that systemic racism does not exist is a total no. What do you, my viewers, have to say about this video? Kindly share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.